Baylor's path to the Big 12 championship has never looked easier, and they didn't even have to do anything.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, brought to you by Monarch Money, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And on this particular day, we call it Wicker Wednesday because Sydney Wicker of KCEN Channel 6 joins in to talk about how Baylor's schedule suddenly looks pretty easy after it didn't in the preseason. And they've gotten through the first two games, and this thing might get a little bit easier as we go on throughout this month. Plus, Sawyer Robertson, he's not going to have enough room in his apartment for all these awards he's getting this week. Who was the Big 12's biggest loser of this week? That was actually the tough one to call because there were a lot of them. And Sydney was there in Dallas on Saturday, and she said, "This is when I knew Baylor was going to win." And I guarantee you it was not the same time that the rest of us knew that Baylor was going to win. We'll talk about all that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. Sydney, it was a great Saturday for the Bears, right?
Good one.
OT victory.
Yeah.
Can't complain. Entertainment factor through the roof. You knew. You were
amazing. There. Yes. So fun. I mean, it doesn't get better than games like that when you get to cover them. Like, that's the best.
Yeah. And the best part about it as a fan is when it's over.
Yes.
Like that was the best part of that game.
When the heart attack is over and it's just celebratory.
Yes, and you're like you're in that overtime where it's like, man, if it does go wrong, I'm gonna have a meltdown here. Like the neighbors are gonna think I'm insane because I am. And
I will say, even like as a reporter, I know I'm like unbiased, of course, and do not show any favoritism, but it gives me anxiety because I'm just like, what's going on? Like, where should I go? Like you're in it. Like you can feel it. So yeah, the anxiety doesn't go away on all levels.
Yeah, whether you want to be or not, you're in it. You're there. I don't want this conversation to bleed too much into our next segment, which is where we're going to talk about the winners and losers of the week in the Big 12. But all that to say, Sydney, we talked all offseason long about really the first month of this schedule, not just games 1 and 2, right? Auburn, SMU, we knew those were going to be tough. But then after Samford, it's, oh my gosh, Arizona State, the Big 12 champs are coming into town. And then you got to go to Oklahoma State, and they're feeling pretty good about their team in the offseason, and that's a tough place to play. And then the week after that, you've got maybe the other team that's going to win the Big 12 in Kansas State coming into your barn. All of a sudden, especially after this weekend, Sydney, I'll just pose the question to you straight up. Is this Baylor schedule for the next 3 weeks, like, easy?
I think if you're a fan, you kind of take a sigh as a team. You never can. But yeah, things are looking a lot better for Baylor. I mean, we're really starting to figure out the identities of these teams, and all the preseason hype is literally just that, preseason hype. Like you really don't know what you're getting into until the first couple weeks of the season. And we're really starting to see some of these teams figure out who they really are. And now as we look down the stretch, I think we always knew Utah was going to be a tough one, and TCU is always tough when it's a team that you know well. Yeah. But the other games that I think everyone was a little more worried about, maybe it just are like, I mean, not so bad. I think I like Baylor a little more than I liked him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and we had talked about that TCU game in particular of being like, don't let this be a trap game. Like you've already got through the beef of your schedule, and then you're going to look at it and it's like it might be, 3 games before that aren't that difficult. You know what I mean? Including Samford this weekend, and you hope one of the 3 other games is a little bit tougher. But Arizona State, they put their foot in the ground in the second half, and they showed why they really should have won that game. But they didn't make the play when they needed to, and they fell down 17-0. Kansas State, man. Kansas State. They're not in our winners and losers segment, so I'm confident talking about it. And it's amazing that they didn't make it, but we'll tell you why in a little bit. But that is a mess up there in Manhattan. That was a team that a lot of people in the know thought were going to win this conference and that their quarterback was going to be in the Heisman discussion. Sydney, this is an absolute mess after a loss to Army, who the week before lost to Tarleton State. Is this team like out of it in your mind, even though we haven't played a conference game?
I mean, they did start off the season playing Iowa State. So which, when I started that game, I was kind of like, okay, my hope's not totally out on Kansas State, but I did think they were going to look better than that. And then just after watching the Harvard game, and it's definitely not looking good. I don't think that there's no hope for a turnaround for them, but it's just they really have to figure it out. It's kind of like last week we were talking about how Baylor was in a must-win situation against SMU when they looked at their season. Well, Kansas State's in a must-win situation for the rest of the year if they want to have any hope. So their backs are definitely against the wall. And yeah, it's not looking too good over there in Manhattan.
And as we look at these next 3 weeks after Samford and before TCU, so that's Arizona State, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State in that order. I think some fans maybe have gotten a little carried away this week. Like Baylor has been outplayed most of their 2 games. They still have not led in 111 minutes of game time because overtime takes no game time off the clock. So it's been since 10 minutes into game 1 that they've had a lead, but all of a sudden we're feeling really good about this team. We'll talk about the quarterback in a minute, but just having said that, after such a big win on Saturday, does it still feel like Baylor's the better team in each of these next 3 matchups after Samford?
I 100% think they're the better team. I love how experienced Baylor is, and I think that really shows. Obviously, we're going to talk more about Sawyer in a minute, but his poise is so huge, his leadership, and having a vet like Sawyer who has such an impact in every room that he seems to be in, it's obvious. And that's the kind of guy who helps lead you to double overtime victories. That's the kind of voice that you need to get you through when you're down in the 4th quarter. Like, it makes all the difference. So I think no matter what, you're looking at a team that knows how to respond when they're down and find ways to win.
Let's talk about the hardware. I don't want to put it off any
How can you
longer.
not?
So it's like a deluge of tweets from Baylor football on Tuesday. Sawyer Robertson, Walter Camp, Offensive Player of the Week. Josh Cameron and Sawyer Robertson, Earl Campbell, Tyler Rose Award, Player of the Week, honorable mention. Look, I'm not going to get too bogged down in this. I don't know how they get honorable mention when he's literally the Offensive Player of the Week. Davey O'Brien, National Quarterback of the Week. Not quite the best in Texas, apparently, but National Quarterback of the Week. And the granddaddy of them all, the AP National Player of the Week, Sawyer Robertson. Remember the name. The Heisman campaign is on, Sydney. Like, people thought we were joking about that. It's on through 2 weeks.
And everybody can say Cam Stuart told them first.
I mean, more or less. Yeah. I'm sitting here just throwing darts at the dartboard in March saying, like, hey, if he does this. And so far, he's doing this, man. Yeah.
I mean, how can he not be? You have 2 games with over 400 yards.
It's not bad.
Are you kidding me? I think it's so strange just like watching him, because I feel like in person you don't even realize it sometimes. Like, you're just watching it and it's just Sawyer being Sawyer. Next thing you know, you look at the stat sheet and you're like, how many touchdowns? How many yards? Like, it's so effortless. But congrats to Sawyer. I'm glad that he's getting some of the attention and the buzz that he deserves. Like I've said time and time again, he is Baylor to a T. Everything you'd want in a Baylor quarterback, and he's definitely getting the recognition that he deserves.
Mm-hmm. Sawyer Robertson deserves recognition. So do some of the big losers in the Big 12. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but first, get your comments in the comment section below. Is this Sawyer Robertson Heisman campaign truly on? And how do you feel about the next 4 games on Baylor's schedule after what we saw on Saturday? Should they be favored in all 4? Let me know in the comment section below. Then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're on the path towards 5,000 subscribers, and we are cooking right towards that. As mentioned, coming up, the new segment, Sydney Wicker's winners and losers in the Big 12 this week. It's next on Locked On Baylor. But first, today's episode of Locked On Baylor is brought to you by our friends over at Mazda. Yeah, you know them. You could just move through life, or you can find the things that move you. It's your choice. You could choose to get out there, choose your people. You could choose to go for it. Like, really, Jake Spavital, Dave Aranda, go for it every time. Just choose to do something that moves you. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. So Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode is also brought to you by one that I use quite a lot, and that is DoorDash, okay? It's almost the weekend, right? Almost. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For the Baylor Bears, I'm sorry, where else can I go but Sawyer Robertson? I'd love to throw Josh Cameron in there too. They both delivered in a big way, leading the fourth quarter 14-point comeback. Sawyer Robertson throws for 440. Josh Cameron has 2 touchdowns. When the pressure was on, they came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching this team, you'll know this performance was not a fluke. Okay? Sawyer Robertson is on one of the hottest streaks in America. Just like he delivered for the Baylor Bears, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash streaks, you save every Saturday you order. So stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday and keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms to apply. Promo period through November the 18th. Back here on Locked On Baylor, Wicker Wednesday. Cam Stuart, Sydney Wicker. We started this last week. She's still muted, so I'll give her the time to get back as I try to kill a little bit of time here.
So sorry.
It's time to review, Sydney. I just need to make sure you know.
Locking in on Locked On.
Locking on the unmute button. And it is time for Wicker's winners and losers. We're each going to pick a winner and a loser in the Big 12. And what was a wild week in the Big 12. You got a win over an ACC college football playoff team, a win over a Big 10 team, and then some pretty bad losses in there. So, Sydney, start us off with your winner of the week in the Big 12.
I feel like a little biased doing this on Locked On Baylor, but it has to be Baylor. I mean, they had one of the best games, I thought, of the day. One of the best games in the Big 12 for sure. And taking down a ranked opponent in SMU, double overtime on the road, like, you just go on and on. They were hands down my winners in this one. Like you said, not a lot of Big 12 winners, so I just feel like this one was a cupcake.
That one was a little tougher this week, the winners.
You know, you look at Utah, who had a really huge win, but like, I'm sorry, Baylor just had the most competitive win in my mind, so they're my winner.
That's allowed. We'll allow that. Yeah, it's obviously coming from a point of we watched all of that. But, I mean, yeah, it's tough to argue, man. Top 20 team at the time. On the road, college football playoff team, and down 14 in the fourth quarter. I mean, you could do a national winner, loser of the week, and you might get Baylor as the winner. So I'll take that. On the opposite side, this was tough to pick because there were so many candidates. So, Sydney, I've been watching. I watched the beginning of the documentary on Netflix, but I want you to tell me who the Big 12 version is of The Biggest Loser.
I still have not watched the documentary, by the way.
I mean, dude, like some of it,
I did watch.
I'm going to be like, what did you expect? Like, what? I don't know. I know. But it's going to be crazy. I don't want to
live though, and I always thought it was weird. But anyways, my biggest loser of the week, I just think has to go to Oklahoma State. I think when you have
they did lose the biggest for sure.
They did lose the big 69-3. To Oregon. Oregon is a great football team, mind you, but to lose 69-3 with a coach like Coach Gundy, who is pretty renowned. A lot of people know him, have a lot of respect for him. I think the expectations never go away at Oklahoma State, and I thought that was a disappointing loss. It didn't even feel competitive to me, and I think it was a really big, this is what you're getting with Oklahoma State this year. So they're my biggest loser this week.
I mean, that was like a legit FCS team is what it looked like.
It was not competitive.
And, of course, I fully expect them to be more competitive when they host Baylor in a couple of weeks because that's how it goes around here. In fact, Gundy will probably get fired and they'll just have some interim beat us like they did at TCU a couple of years ago with Jerry Kill. But I said this kind of tongue-in-cheek with Drake on Monday, but I was a little bit surprised to not hear any buzz about, like, Mike Gundy resigning. Like, because he loves Oklahoma State. It's his alma mater. He's been there for 20 years. Like, they're just sometimes that happens where you're just like, I've embarrassed this university and they need someone better than me. And that's not me saying it necessarily because, like, I don't know who would come in to replace Mike Gundy. It's so easy to just say, get rid of him. But this program is moving in the wrong direction, man. This is a team that was in the Big 12 championship game 2 years ago. And Baylor was sitting there at 3-9, and we're thinking, man, maybe we should have got Alan Bowman instead when we worked them out here in the transfer portal. And now they look a cut below. Let's say that a cut below this level of competition. It's really bad.
It's
and Ross Haney was hurt, but
yeah.
St. Flores had started a game for them last year. And that was also brutal.
It's just shocking to even think that 2 years ago this was a team that was better and was good and competing. Like I feel like even last season just did not have the spark. Like it really sucks to see that that's where they're at. And like 69-3.
That's the thing. It's like I saw Oklahoma State fans being like, "Oh, well, what did you expect?" Like they played the number 6 team in the country on the road, and still more Oklahoma State fans had the correct, rational answer of, "I expected them to look like a competent football team." Like if you lose it, 42-24, yep, you played the number 6 team in the country on the road, and you're kind of building it back up, and your quarterback was out. 69-3 is literally that's Baylor versus Albany. Like that's what you're dealing with there. And it honestly, it stunk to see. I'm no Oklahoma State fan, but that sucked to see. All right. Winner of the week on my end was really the only other one we could have gone with. And that is the number 1 team in the Big 12 in my eyes right now. Tough to argue. The Iowa State Cyclones. It was not pretty. It was not pretty, Sydney, but any win over Iowa for them is a big deal, and it's not going to be easy. And it's the first time Matt Campbell's beaten them in Ames.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Which is crazy because
that is crazy.
Like all things being equal, Matt Campbell has had better teams over the last 10 years than Kirk Ferentz has. He just has. And it's always a close game, but they went it and got it done. For me, a 3-0 team that has now beaten Iowa out of the Big Ten, beaten what some believed would be the Big 12 champions in Kansas State, and they didn't even have to give up the home game. That to me is the most impressive team in the Big 12 so far, and I keep having to somewhat eat my words on Rocco Becht. I never thought Rocco Becht was bad, but he continues to be very good. So for me, Iowa State number 1 in the conference right now. How do you feel about that?
I think they're really competitive. I still think I like Baylor over Iowa State in the Big 12. But
play, man.
I mean,
Arlington.
If Kansas State is as bad as we think they are, and they played that close with them, and Iowa is just Iowa, I don't think they're always a maybe 6-win team, and they're
not projected to win the Big Ten this year. Yeah,
no. I don't know. I feel like they're about to get really tested here once they start conference play, and I think we'll really start to see who this Iowa State team is. But anytime you get a win over your in-state rival, Iowa State, always such a good matchup. So definitely a big win for them.
And my loser of the week is going to shock people, okay? Because really, it probably should be Kansas State. Losing at home to Army is kind of unforgivable when you've got this coach and this quarterback and all you brought back from last year. Army lost to Tarleton the week before. Tarleton in overtime. To bounce back the next week and beat Kansas State on the road is unthinkable. Kansas lost a game that they felt they had at one point. Arizona State feels like the other conventional loser of the week. They lost to the worst team in the SEC in a game that, again, with the way they played in the second half shows, they really should have won it. Probably should have won it comfortably. But my loser of the week, I don't mean this to pile on, but what has come after the loss makes them the loser of the week for me, and that is the West Virginia Mountaineers. I didn't think they should have been 3-point favorites going on the road against Ohio. I talked about that with Pete Souza last week. Ohio's a decent program, right? They won the MAC last year. They beat Iowa State at home 2 or 3 years ago. And West Virginia's no good. And Ohio has a good quarterback in Parker Navarro, good for that level. And so I was like, I'm surprised to see that they're 3-point dogs at home, and they showed you why they're not. They shouldn't have been. It was an Ohio victory, and then afterwards, Jaheim White now announced out for the year on what looked like kind of a dirty play. It was a horse collar tackle that ends up he gets lost for the year. Preseason, all Big 12 selection, something like 1,600 total yards last year. That was West Virginia's hope, wing, and prayer on offense, and now it's gone. And as Kirk Herbstreit said on his broadcast, that if West Virginia had won that game, the backyard brawl this week would have been College game day, West Virginia, Pitt. So all kinds of just bad. And now Ren Baker might leave for Oklahoma State. That's a hot rumor. So really just overall, if we're talking Big 12 loser, it's a bad week to be West Virginia.
Yeah, you'd mentioned all the hits that they took literally. Like that's so tough. That's tough.
Really
I think, I don't know, it was hard for me to pick a loser too because Arizona State was up there for me. And I just like think it's so laughable. I don't know if you saw the videos of them during practice ringing the little cowbells. But as somebody who worked in Mississippi for 2 years, covered multiple games at Davis Wade Stadium. Yeah, I've never been in a louder environment in my entire life than when it is after 6 o'clock, the sun is down, and the cowbells are ringing than at Davis Wade Stadium. That is the loudest, most hype environment I've ever been a part of. Like, that was just laughable that you even thought that was going to help you prepare. And I'm so happy for Mississippi State to get that win. I think that was a huge statement for them. And I think this Mississippi State team's a little better than people think they are. I don't think they're going to finish last in the SEC this year. But yeah, I think Arizona State deserved that for just the way that they went into that.
You're just a big Blake Shapen fan, I think.
What can I say?
Big B-shape fan. It's weird that, like, for the national awards this week for quarterbacks, it's Blake Shapen and Sawyer Robertson in the discussion for every one of them. And I'm like, yeah, we'll still take Sawyer. We'll still take Sawyer and win that trade. And who knows what Mississippi State would be if they had Sawyer. Could be even exceeding your expectations for him. Let us know who the biggest winners and losers of the Big 12 were this week down in the comment section below. Then subscribe, because we're going to have it for you every week. Every Wicker Wednesday, we will have some more of that. Coming up, we will talk about when Sydney was at the game this Saturday. The moment that she knew that Baylor was going to win this game against SMU, we'll take you through that, what the players and what Coach Dave Aranda said, and then a little bit more trivia. That's coming up next on Locked On Baylor. But first, I got to tell you about my friends over at FanDuel. And they are my friends because they give me money. They give me money pretty quick. NFL season is here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It fits really however the way I like to bet, whatever I'm feeling. Player props, same game parlay, jumping in live in the action. It's all right there. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Let me ask you something, because I usually do that. Can you name all your financial accounts or even what they're worth? Whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments, most people don't know. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on the same laptop or phone you're listening or watching this podcast right now. It's built for people with busy lives. I put off organizing my finances for a while, but Monarch made it so easy. They did all the heavy lifting for me. You get smart categorization of your spending, clear data visuals, and you can finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege. Back here on Locked On Baylor, Wicker Wednesday. Sydney, you were at Highland Park, University Park, Gerald J. Ford Stadium on Saturday.
What a name for a stadium, by the way. The amount of times I stumbled over that one. Lovely.
Could you imagine, Baylor, George A. Bush Stadium or something? William D. Clinton? That'd be great, man. But looking at this game, it was obviously a great comeback for Baylor. I've said it on this show before, on the postgame, on Monday's show. I thought they were done at 38-24. I thought it was over. And the closer we got to kickoff, especially after that first play, I was still feeling a little uneasy. But Sydney, you were there. Tell me when you knew Baylor was going to win this game.
Well, it was before the game even started. I got there early. I don't know. I just had a feeling, literally walking into the stadium, and I get on the field for pregame warmups, and I'm just watching them take snaps, get into rhythm, warm up. And Michael Trigg just happened to be on the side of the end zone where I was at, and had the meanest look in his. I've never seen so much anger in somebody's eyes before. And I had posted a video on social media and I said the Bears are locked in. And I really wanted to say Baylor's going to win this game.
You could have said locked on, by the way.
They're locked on. They are so locked on.
Makes way more sense.
Not even funny that they are locked on and locked in before this game. But yeah, I could see it. Like literally there was this look in their eyes of anger, hunger, and ready to make a statement. And Trigg walked around a lot in those warm-ups telling the guys, we have a chance. We have an opportunity to do something here. And he kept repeating that. And I felt like I was about to go play. Like he was like hyping me up. I'm like, oh my gosh, these are the best highlights I've ever shot in my life. Like I'm ready to go. And you could just feel the energy from the very beginning. They just looked and felt so different to me.
And so you're on the sidelines for every game, at least every home game and quite a few road games as well. You've done this for other teams, not just Dave Aranda teams, not just Baylor. So like how often do you kind of get that feeling of like, these guys are just locked in today?
Yeah, not very often, honestly. Yeah. Like there's just, it's been very few games I can think of. You know, I think it's funny because every time I cover the Egg Bowl, Mississippi State versus Ole Miss, I always predicted that game wrong. Like I always felt good about one team going into it and then the other team would win. So it's funny because like sometimes you like think you might know and then it just like totally changes. But I really just truly felt so different feeling there. And I just remembered like embracing that moment and thinking there's something about this look that just feels different.
The look, TM. Well, you knew in pregame warmups. When did the Baylor players know? When did Dave Aranda know? Well, let's hear.
It was one of those things where we're sitting down. It's quiet in there. It's real quiet in the locker room. And we're all just looking at each other. I look to my left, I look to my right. I don't need to say anything. I see it in everybody's eyes. You can tell, you see it in the eyes, and you could feel it. Like we knew that we were shooting ourselves in the foot, and we cleaned up those mistakes. We can come back and we can make this thing happen. And that's what we did.
At halftime, the spaces are kind of tight, so we got to come out to talk in a hallway. And I just remember 10, however many guys coming out and all making eye contact with me to see, hey, is he in? Does he believe? It was almost as if he believes, I believe. And I don't know, a bunch of eye contact being made, guys come out in the hallway. And so after that, I just felt, man, we're going to do this thing. I can see everybody, their hearts are wide open right here.
Now, I can be cynical here because I'm cynical quite a bit, Sydney. But when I heard that Dave Aranda quote at first, I'm like, really, like everyone talks about how you need to be this rah-rah guy, super intense. You need to chew out the refs in order for your team to play hard. And I've just never really bought into that. Like I have problems with Dave Aranda, but that's not really one of them because like 2021, he was the same dude and they won 12 games. Like, you know what I mean? That to me is not a huge deal. And I also grew up with Bill Belichick. Like it wasn't like, I mean, he would freak out, but he was probably a lot more Dave Aranda than he was, I don't know. But I hear that quote at first, and I'm like, why do they need to check in with the coach? Like, why is it like one of these? Does he believe? If he believes, I'll believe. Like, I don't love hearing that, but the proof was in the pudding. Like that defense turned it around the second half. They made the stops they needed to.
Absolutely. I think there was something so telling. Like, it sounds funny that I was thinking how Michael Trigg's eyes just like looked so mean. Like you could see the hunger there, but clearly there was something in the air and something in their eyes that they just saw in each other. And that was just ready to prove something. And I thought that was so obvious. I actually asked Dave Aranda later in that press conference if he had seen this look in the guys during practice, or, you'd mentioned like there was this feel or this turnaround. So like, have you seen this look before? And he said that at halftime, that was the first time he saw the look and he could see the buy-in and he just felt it. And I think, last season we talk a lot about how after that Iowa State game, Josh Cameron threw his helmet down, made a statement in practice. Well, I feel like this halftime look was that turnaround for this team. And I think that Baylor's looking into something more moving forward.
And that could give credence to the statement I was making earlier this week of like, that's got to be the turnaround point. It wasn't perfect. You still got a lot to work on, especially on the defensive side, but that could be a turning point. And that's what that sounds like. So hopefully they have, I guess they probably don't need the look this Saturday, but hopefully that look starts to come around a lot more often. Sydney, before we get out of here, we got to do some trivia. Okay.
Okay. Let's
So
do it.
I'm gonna throw yesterday's question at you because you'll know the answer whether you know it right away. You'll know it. So the question was, so Chris Hatcher, who's the coach for Samford, played quarterback at Valdosta State, and his head coach was Hal Mumme. And my question was, what Big 12 coaching legend, who you might remember from the SEC, was his offensive coordinator?
I do know this answer because I covered Valdosta State, and they actually did some tributes for these
Let's
two.
go. Let's go.
Yes, I know. I never know the answer, so let's go. Now I'm the winner of the week. This is my chance to win. Wicker's winner. I feel great. I'll tell you after because I don't want to ruin it. Should I?
Oh, well, they already got it. Yeah, I'm gonna say it anyway. Yeah.
You're gonna say
this was yesterday, so I'm gonna say.
Oh, okay. So I get to say it now.
Yeah, do it.
Mike Leach.
The late great Mike Leach. The Pirate
legend.
Himself. By the way, I mentioned Valdosta, Titletown, USA. You know what that means, having been there. I mean, right there on the line. But yes, Mike Leach, Scotty B, the Baylor King, is the one who got it right in the YouTube comment section. Congrats. How about that? How about playing for Hal Mumme and Mike Leach?
Can you believe
from Iowa Wesleyan?
Just thinking about the two of them at Valdosta State is the craziest thing to me, but I love it.
Yes. And what a feeder program. They have one of the very best high school football programs in America at Valdosta. And there's another one close by. Anyway.
Lowndes.
That's it. That's it. Yes. They've also won
both of them in the title game all the time. They call it, oh my gosh, the title town. I can't think. Wintersville Classic. That's it.
Wintersville Classic.
Yeah.
And all the cats say. Right. Yep. All right. So now we move on to the other one because it's going to kind of go hand in hand. So that's why I wanted to give you your moment there. So I mentioned Hal Mumme. Okay. Who could forget? There's a great book written about him called The Perfect Pass. And that's how I know the answer to this question. So remember, guys, first one to get it in the comment section or tweet at us at Locked On Baylor gets a shout out for next episode. The question is this: Hal Mumme, who coached Chris Hatcher and at Valdosta State, what was his first head coaching job? And I'll give you the hint that it's in Texas high school football. And what was that, as a bonus, what is that school's connection to Baylor football? Hal Mumme's first head coaching job, which was in Texas high school football, where was it? And what is that school's connection to Baylor? First one to get it in the YouTube comments or tweet at us at Locked On Baylor.
Yeah, these are getting so hard.
I'm going in like a string here. Like I did Samford coaches to Samford coach who that coach played for, and now to this. So Robertson's in there in all the news this week. So Mike Leach gets the shout out. Yes, Hal Mumme gets this one. And we will have Brad Radisi of the Samford. He's the Samford play-by-play guy. I was going to say of something. So I'll have to throw him the curveball. Have to grill him when he's on the show tomorrow. But Sydney, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Great Wicker Wednesday, as always.
As always, a very big success. So, guys, Sydney knew before the game. Let me know when you knew Baylor was going to win this game against SMU. Who was your biggest winner, loser of the week, and how do these next couple of weeks look for the Baylor Bears? Let me know in the comments section below, and be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you on the next one. Thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. We'll see you tomorrow on Locked On Baylor.